And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to another day, another week, another month of WTL of World Team League 2023 Winter Codes Round 8, day number 3. Of course, your Live VIP with me. I'm joined by Kuro handling the production and the people in the chat as well. And we have quite a lineup here for you today. We have Team Liquid versus KWANGDONG FREECS up first. Later on tonight, we have the Starving Camels versus Dragon Kai Z Gaming. And my oh my, these are some interesting matchups, and I'm excited. I'm always excited to cast some KWANGDONG FREECS, always excited to see how informed they are. We have Cure versus TY in a TVT, SKillous versus Stats in a PvP, and Clem versus Keen in another TVT. The mirror matchups are real, and Zerg does not exist. Not yet. We'll get some Zerg action later on tonight. A laser is not available here for Team Liquid. I think, is he playing in ESL tonight? It's possible. No, I don't think he is, but regardless, we do have quite a stacked lineup here from Team Liquid. It is great to see TY once again. From the KWANGDONG FREECS, they've been relying a lot more on Armani recently, We haven't seen Sue in a little bit, and we haven't seen TY in a while as well, so great to see him back, great to see him return. I do think TY is in pretty solid form, but solid enough to take down Cure? Oh, that's another question. Cure going to be coming in as the heavy favorite, arguably the new ace player of Team Liquid. I say arguably, Clem has been the ace for a long time, and I feel like Cure still needs to prove himself for his team, for Team Liquid to really claim that spot. But he definitely is a strong contender for it. Definitely. And then the TVT is going to be favored. TY, though, he has his own special play styles. Strap yourselves in. Mech is very possible. Mech is a very real possibility when TY is involved. So, oh boy, let's go. That we could see that at some point in this series. He can also play some standard biotank as well. So don't fret too much here, as we should be able to indulge ourselves in some solid TVT action. Afterwards, of course, Stats versus SKillous. Stats, I do think that his current best matchup is PvP. When it comes to our returning players and they're all getting into form, they're all getting to the swing of things, I do think Stats right now is PvP is his best kind of performing matchup so far. He's going toe-to-toe with some of the best Protoss in Korea. So this is going to be a close one. I feel like Skills versus Stats is going to be closer than some of these other matches. Clem versus Keen, he has to prove himself. Likewise, I also feel like Keen's best matchup currently is also TVT. So this is maybe best case scenario for Stats and Keen to really flex themselves and to really flaunt their skill. But they're still up against really top tier players. Like it's not going to be easy for the KWANGDONG FREECS, and they have been struggling. Over the past season. They are towards the bottom of the standings. They did take their first win a couple of weeks ago. I'm just quickly double checking, and yeah, they got their first win last week against the Starving Camels. But the Starving Camels, they've also been struggling. They're so far at the very bottom of the standings. So the Freaks, at least they got their first win under their belts, and maybe that's going to help propel them forward and help them in these up and coming matches, get them the momentum that they need. Fingers crossed. I'm a big fan of a lot of the players on the KWANGDONG FREECS, and I wish them the best. They're going to need it here. They still have to play against, I'm looking, Team Liquid, Team Basilisk, Mystery Gaming, and Starlight Twinkle as well. So still some heavy hitters. Some heavy hitters are still remaining here for the KWANGDONG FREECS. Do wish them the best, especially because currently we are kind of nearing the end of the season. It's week 8. Round 8, and there are 11 rounds in total before the playoff bracket. And I believe the playoffs are going to be scheduled for, I think, next year. I know that they have been kind of shuffling some things around just because of Home Story Cup and IEM qualifiers as well. So I know that the people over at SC Boy have been just working hard at making sure that these events don't clash with WTL and make sure that people have enough room to, focus on these qualifiers and focus on Home Story Cup towards the end of the year. And DreamHack Atlanta, of course, as well. So, yeah, definitely something to look forward to. But because we are getting towards the end of the season, the end of the round, I mean, that's why it's a little bit concerning. That's why it's a little bit concerning that the KWANGDONG FREECS are still towards the bottom. Can they make it out? I think technically they can, but they need to win every single series moving forward, or most of their series moving forward, because they have quite a ways to go here if they want to make it into the top 7. For those wanting top 7, make it into the playoffs. Out of 12 teams, so we got to rise through the ranks at least a little bit more here for the KWANGDONG Freecs. I think they're currently, if they do manage to take another win, they're going to be tied with quite a lot of teams. Mystery Gaming, Platinum Heroes, Matcherino Esports. I'm looking quite a surprising amount of teams are actually 2 to 6. The Freaks are still below them, but they have one more game to play, or this series to play, before they really solidify themselves amongst them or underneath them. So we'll see. Also, we've been on this scene for quite some time. That's not good. Usually, if we're settled here on the lineups for a little bit, it means that we may be looking for our players. Whether it's Cure, whether it's TY, we may be looking for one of them, and hopefully we can find them. Obviously, we give them a little bit of time. They do have a couple of minutes to themselves where they can establish themselves and get their setups going. Yeah, hopefully hopefully everything is okay. Like, I know TVT has a bit of a reputation, and I know I was joking a little bit about the mech, but I stand by that. I still think mech is a possibility. It's not the cup of tea for everyone, but I still want it, Pop. I still want some StarCraft. But for now, I think we're going to be going on a short break, hopefully a short break. And when we return, we'll have our next matchup. For those wondering, if we don't have either Cure or TY available, I believe typically the WTL organizers are willing to bump up some of the matches and maybe play out SKillous versus Stats first, or Clem versus Keen first, depending on who's available. And they allow the teams to have as much time as possible to find their players before we do get things going. So, we try to give as much leeway and as much wiggle room as we can to actually have a show and have these matches play out. So yeah, I'm going to be going on a short break. When we return, we'll have some StarCraft. See you soon. And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. Ask and you shall receive. And we have a matchup. We have a lineup getting ready for us here and now. It is going to be the PvP. I mentioned before that if certain players are not found, then they are willing, or the WTL admins are willing, to bump up some matches to allow those players to become available later on in the night. Basically, I'm not too sure if it's Cure or TY. I don't have confirmation which one is missing, but whoever it is, whether it's Cure or TY, they will have as long as it takes for this series and the next one to finish to show up. And hopefully they do. Fingers crossed that they do show up. For now, we're going to be skipping Cure versus TY for the time being. I'm going to be holding them until later on tonight. And we have SKillous versus Stats. Oh, it's Stats. He's in I was going to say Hyperion. That is not Hyperion. Where is that? Not too sure. He's in a basement. He's in a lab. He's back to the lab again. Getting ready here to muster up his Protoss builds. I'm ready for it. I think we've lost his cam, actually. I think okay, he's back. It's all good. He is back. But yeah, we're going to be diving into this PvP for the time being. Thankfully, SKillous and Stats are available, so we can get the show going here. Game 1 is going to be on Hecate. Game 2 is going to be loser's pick. So whoever does end up taking the loss in the first game will have a chance to bring it all back here in game number 2 instead. Vamonos. I believe predictions are open in the chat as well, so place your bets in the chat. And of course, it is up to you to determine how you think this series will go. Remember, it's a best of 2, so you can go 2-0 in either direction or a 1-1 score instead. Best of luck. Again, predictions open for another minute or so before we get into this. You can see that the ELOs are relatively similar between our two players. I did mention before that against Stats, he's a returning player. He did finish his military at the start of the year, so he's been back competing for, 11 or so months? Less than that, maybe 9 or so months. And he has been getting back into this, and I do stand by the fact that PvP is his current best matchup. I do think that this is where he thrives the most. This is where he can really show his skill and really flourish as a player. So this is best case scenario for Stats to really put some points on the board and fight back for his team. I mentioned earlier, the KWANGDONG Freecs, they've been struggling. They've been struggling a lot this season. They got their first and only win last week. We need more. We need more wins here. We need some more points on the board to actually have a chance at making it into those playoffs. Oh. And of course, it's going to be on Stats here to lead the charge. As for now, we do have that PvP. Again, we're just getting things ready. It looks like we were just, making sure that the cameras were looking all good. Just resetting cams and making sure that the lab is running. And here we go in the top right-hand corner of Hecate for Team Liquid. We have SKillous. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, we have his opponent for the KWANGDONG Freecs, Stats. Let's go. Two nice players. True, they're so wholesome. Very easy to get behind, both SKillous and Stats. Very wholesome players, very wholesome. And it's it's a little bit of a shame that one must rise, the other must fall. I mean, I guess in a best of two, they could go 1-1. True. It is possible that you can actually get a tied series here in the WTL format. But I do hope that they can both really show off and really thrive here in this PvP. But now we are getting into this so far. It's going to be a 2-gate opener from both players. Shout out to the sponsors, of course. We have Doyu, we have Honkai Star Tidal, and Autofool as well. Always a big shout out to the sponsors. Without them, WTL would not be a thing. And there's like a place that's been empty in my heart for Pro League. This isn't quite Pro League, but it's the closest that we've gone to Pro League in many, many years. And you can Team League matches and Team League formats are just so much fun, so easy to get behind as well. Thank you so much. Thank you to all the sponsors and to the people watching as well. Hope everyone has been enjoying themselves. Hope everyone has been enjoying the many years of WTL content that we have been getting, the many seasons of World Team League. And here we go. Again, for now, just a 2-gate opener from both players. Nothing too wild. We don't have any kind of probe marauding around the map for a proxy pylon. So far, I believe, yes, both the first and the second pylon has been thrown down in their respective bases. Both SKillous and Stats have confirmed that as well, so they are aware that there is no hidden proxy. They're aware that everything is on the table. With the Cybercore finishing, we have our units of choice. It's going to be double Stalker from Stats and double Stalker from SKillous. So far, everyone is matching each other. Again, these first two units are typically indicative of how the player wants to play out a series or how to play out this game. Double Adept is a lot more aggressive. We have Stalker Sentry, which is more defensive. Double Stalker is, right down the middle. It's a way to gain map control, a way to have a presence, have some additional DPS here in the early game. And yeah, both players are opting for it. Behind it, we have our tech of choice, Stats, going for the Stargate. Here we go. We do have the Sentry follow-up here from SKillous, which is very commonplace. Sentries are so valuable here in PvP because they allow you to scout your opponent with the hallucination, and they allow you to get eyes on whatever your opponent is taking towards, whether it's a Robo, Stargate, Twilight Council, Dark Shrine, hidden bases. Again, there's a lot of value to be had there. Probe comes in for a scout, and it looks like it should be shut down. Ooh, does go down before getting into that main. We do see our players diverge a little bit as the Stalkers have arrived. So far, we're able to keep up with each other. No major losses yet. Of course, the Nexus for Stats is a little bit later than his opponents. We have our tech of choice of Stats. He's going into Oracle production. His opponent going into a faster Blink. Now, because SKillous will have faster Blink, which is just more of a diverse upgrade that really lends well to the mid game, gives your army a lot more maneuverability and flexibility as well. This should lead Stats into going for an earlier Robo to make up for his lack of Stalkers and get into something like Immortal production. But no, as I say that, we are still going for the Twilight Council. So there's going to be a window. There's going to be a window here available where SKillous has Blink and Stats does not. As we get a full scout off SKillous, he sees the faster Stargate, he sees the late Twilight Council, he knows to be ready for Oracles. He gets all the information he needs. The Oracle going straight for the main or even the natural in between. But we have plenty of units in position. We even get a bit of a surround, and this Oracle gets no damage done. Again, really good scouting from SKillous, really good positioning as well. Ready for an Oracle to come in from any angle and, Yeah, so far this really hasn't been worth it here for stats. So far, again, he's behind when it comes to his blink timing. He's getting into additional gateways. He's getting into a bit of a later Nexus and later economy as a result. SKillous, I would say, is in a good position. SKillous, he's slightly ahead here. Oh my god, and with that lead, he goes straight for a third base. Bold move here from SKillous. Very fast third from him, and again, he's going to be having already an economic lead. He's going to be extending it to the hallucination scout of stats, does confirm the timing, does see the later gateways as well, and stats has a choice to make. He can either try to catch up and get a third base of his own, or double down and try and deny the third base of SKillous. One or the other. We can see the Stalkers are going to be moving out. Probe as well, which I imagine is going to be working towards his own third base. Again, SKillous will have the slightly faster blink, and it's only by a couple of seconds, so it may not be the biggest of deals, but it can actually influence this next fight. Third base now on the way for stats. Again, he's pushing out. There's a lot of pressure on stats to get some damage done, to trade well, or to pick up a pylon. Ideally, even cancel that base. So he's going to be pushing on forward, but SKillous is in position. Shield battery finishes up just in time as well. Hallucination goes across the map. We had a stasis trap in the main, but last only caught one probe. Good reaction out of SKillous. He does pull back. He does retreat. Doesn't lose much at all in the main. Meanwhile, we do see stats is deflected. SKillous, he was in position. He was ready for the push. I'm not too sure if the hallucination scout from SKillous saw the third base. I hope it did. Otherwise, he may think it's an all-in. But for now, he's not overreacting. I'm sure he is aware of the timing of the third. Getting a little bit adventurous here, chasing stats very far back. Oh my, he does get a Stalker. And good blink control, going to be trading 1 for 1. Stalker for Stalker. But SKillous, you can see he is still maintaining his lead because he had the faster third. You can see in the worker count, he's almost up 10 workers. Stats is taking up even further. We have a gateway explosion charge on the way. Forge as well. SKillous will start +1 first, so he will have an upgrade advantage. But I believe SKillous hasn't gone into charge yet. So the quality of the army or the diversity of the army is going to be lacking a little bit here for SKillous, as for now he's going pure Blink Stalker for the time being. Meanwhile, Stats is going to be mixing it up with going Stalker Zealot as well. Couple of workers do go down. The Oracle able to get some damage done, thankfully. This Oracle has been alive since the early game, and it finally gets a little bit more value here. Getting 3 workers does help equalize, does help even things up. Hallucination comes in, a big scout here. SKillous, he does see the researching Twilight Council, so he knows that charge is on the way. Most likely charge, as Stats is taking his 4th. A much faster 4th base here from Stats to try to catch up in the economy. And Stats continues to take up. He's going for Charged Archon. Meanwhile, SKillous still purely Stalker. And that isn't necessarily a bad thing. I will say that Stats is going to have a lot more potential with his army, especially depending on the engagement as well. Zealots, their role here is to just buffer. To be a kind of a soaking force here for the rest of these Stalkers. They do take a lot of Stalker hits to kill, and of course they close the gap, and they can create this kind of this kind of area that can help defend the rest of your army. You can see SKillous rotating around. He's going to be threatening that 4th base. Oh, and again, he's going to be trading well here. +1 is about to kick in. He does have the Stalker lead. 25 Stalkers to the 11 of Stats. Again, he doesn't want to throw away his Zealots, but it looks like there's just too much here. SKillous, he's breaking through, pushing up the ramp. Good force fields as well. Zealots do close the distance. They do force SKillous back. Force him back for the time being. Oh my god, Stats just looking to chase this down. Very aggressive blinks here, and so far he does pick off quite a number of Stalkers. Very efficient trades from Stats, only losing Zealots here. But as the Zealots run out, we have to back off. We have to respect the army of SKillous. A couple of Archons are in the mix as well, +2 starting for both players. That Zealot army is running thin. But SKillous is able to maintain his Stalker lead. He's going to keep on pushing. Again, he has to be very careful not to bleed out too much. Just because Stats, he's looking to preserve his Stalker count. Immortals are also on the way. Stats just taking up even further. But he knows he doesn't want to overextend. You can see here, Stats only losing Zealots. 19 Zealots for 12 Stalkers. Pretty efficient trade. That's the power of the Zealots in this kind of dynamic, where we're chasing SKillous down, picking off even more Stalkers, pulling back towards the end. Again, we don't want to throw anything away. So pretty good control here from Stats. At the same time, we do have an adept counterattack getting set up here from SKillous. Both players again, their fourth base is up and running. SKillous still maintains a worker lead. He still has a slightly stronger economy. Getting into 2-1 upgrades. Now, what's scary about what's happening to SKillous is that this style, going pure Blink Stalker, is designed to snowball out of control. It's designed to just build up a high enough Stalker count to just overwhelm your opponent. But he has been bleeding out a lot of Stalkers. That's the problem here, is that he has been trading, and these have been expensive losses for SKillous. But here we go. He's pushing right through the center, going for the fourth base once again. Stats, though, he's able to keep up. He is holding on to set fourth. Even forcing a recall here. SKillous was about to be trapped. Does get the hell out of there with most of his army. A couple of Stalkers were left behind. So we are going to be pushing on forward. We catch the Stalkers. Oh, one of them does go down. Stats, he wants to keep pushing, but again, that's a lot of Stalkers that he's moving into. I feel like he has to back off for a moment. Hopefully take up. I'm curious if Stats is thinking about getting into a Robotic Spay and Disruptors. For now, just Zealots, Immortals, and Archons. I mean, when you're Zealot heavy, it is a little bit awkward to actually make use of Disruptors as well, just because the chances of having some friendly fire is a little bit higher. So you have to be very careful with your control if you do take in that direction. But now the Stats going to be rotating around. He's getting the center base, but same as SKillous. So far, they are keeping up with each other. Well, the Archons are getting a little bit more exposed. SKillous getting some free hits in. But that is 3 Immortals with the army. Again, the complexity of Stats' army here, it takes a little bit more to control, but he can actually bring it all together. He can take a fight. He's going for it. He's pushing towards the natural, where there are 4 shield batteries and a cannon as well, plus the overcharge. Oh my god, we can't push into this. Not at all. We do pull back. A lot of Zealots are getting picked off. As Zealots going down one after the other. We're running out of steam. We have another warp in behind this. Stasis Trap only connects with one of those Stalkers. Yeah, Stats is having a really hard time pushing in. He's going to peel off a couple of units towards the fourth base, zoning SKillous away. I do like this. Ace breaks down the Immortals. 2 Immortals go down. They get one shot. Big pickoffs. Stats is getting economic damage done, but his main army is struggling. Again, losing those 2 Immortals was huge. He still has 2 more with his main army. Getting another warping of Zealots. But is Stats overextending? Has he stuck around for a little bit too long? And there's no turning back. Not anymore. He's pushing forward once again, but the Concave is too good. He will get the mineral line. A lot of workers are going down. A lot of probes are falling. Overcharges popped here towards the south. Zealots are running out. So far, SKillous, he hasn't been able to get on top of those Immortals again. And we're just diving in. The cannon goes down. Stats trying to break his opponent here at the natural base. Those 2 Immortals are doing so much in the back line, but we're running out of Zealots. We're coming in from behind. The surround is a little bit too good. We dive on the Immortals. They're going to go down one after the other. And Stats, he did overextend. He did stick around a little bit too long. And pushing into the natural was a death sentence. It was not the right call. He loses everything. The entire army crumbles. And that was an expensive army. The Stalkers, the Immortals, the Archons. That was 4 Immortals, 4 Archons. And now SKillous can go for a massive counterattack. Again, pushing into 4 shield batteries like that, and the cannon as well, it was just a little bit too much. I did like the idea of Stats zoning the main army away and crippling the economy at the third base. I did like that at least, but going further than that was a little bit too ambitious there. And now Stats is on the back foot. He still has an army, but there's not much to it. It's just Zealots, a couple of Immortals. He's desperately trying to hold on to this 5th base. Are the Immortals? No! They're taking a lot of hits. They still stand strong. Behind this, SKillous, he still maintains his worker lead. He's been making 4 probes at a time. Even taking control of the center base, which actually has some gold mineral patches as well. And from here, as long as SKillous controls his army, as long as he's able to blink back, he should be okay. As he maintains a massive supply lead. Again, it's still awkward pushing into all these zealots, and it's a delicate dance, definitely. But for the most part, SKillous, he's getting away with this. We're soon to be 15 minutes in. Charge is still not done. So we have a slow lot run by. Let's go. But we're finally diversifying our army a little bit here with some zealot run bys. You love to see it. +1 shields is on the way. Just because, I mean, we've got double forge, may as well. Again, they are slow lots, so not the most threatening counterattack, but it's forcing a warp in. The immortal count is slowly getting higher here. Stats, he was in a lot of trouble earlier. Now his army is becoming that much more threatening. Doesn't want to bleed out too many of these zealots, though. These are still looking rough and still looking dire here for stats, but he's up to 4 immortals. Going for his own zealot counterattack, catching some workers. That's a lot of sack. That's a lot of sack defense. So that's having a hard time pushing through. But you can see that he was down like what 60, 70 supply, and now he's closing the gap. He is slowly closing the gap. He has held on long enough. You can definitely argue that SKillous maybe could have had a little bit more urgency with his army, and maybe a little bit more adventurous just because of his lead. And that lead is slowly disappearing. Again, stats is only down 9 supply. I mean, he's basically stabilized. It's crazy. Does have a cheaper army. A lot of zealots. A lot of zealots are involved, but he does catch all these stalkers. A big misstep there from SKillous, but he pushes in with his main army. He takes down the fresh mining base of stats. He may have lost stalkers, but he takes down one nexus. He's going for the other. We're going for a base trade. And stats, he is late to the base trade. 2 bases go down, 14 workers. Meanwhile, we have a wall of stack defense. The cannons and shield batteries will eventually go down, but these are good trades for SKillous. Taking down stalkers in the process. And does stats have, he needs to evacuate with those probes. Yeah, he needs to escape. He needs to throw something down to make sure he doesn't die from elimination. As he keeps on pushing, going for more bases, but oh god, he just runs into more cannons and shield batteries. Stalkers try to come in to defend as well. SKillous can always recall. He could try to kill every single one of those buildings, but some probes did escape. Stats, he does have the ability to throw down a couple of buildings if need be. As he keeps on pushing forward, this is the best chance here for Stats to take this game in the midst of all this chaos. Stats, he's lost every single nexus, and he doesn't... Oh no, sorry, he does have enough for another nexus. He does have 400 minerals. He can afford one, and he also has 21 probes to his name as well. Oh my god. There's so much stack defense. Stats trying to hold at the top of the ramp. Trying to hold on to the high ground, but the surround is real. Probes are with the main army. Stats, he hasn't thrown down a nexus yet. He's holding on to that. Hopefully he can hold on to these probes as well, just in case. But it looks like it's going to come down to the fight. Going to come down to one big fight. And Stats, he can take it with 5 immortals? Mate, 5, that's a lot of immortals. That's... SKillous has to be very careful with his control. Yeah, the immortal's going to be going ham. Prism goes down. A big snipe. Losing the prism means we cannot micro, we cannot juggle those immortals. We cannot save them. Stats throwing down the nexus towards the top left. He's going to try to hold on. SKillous does have some mining at his natural. I think he's mostly mined out in his main base, so he's still got some economy. Trying to break free from the supply block. His main army looking for the nexus. Buildings are slowly going down here for Stats. Bearing in mind, SKillous, his army is split up. Uh-oh. SKillous, he has a marauding force instead, and an army across the map killing buildings. Or stalkers across the map killing buildings. So he does have to be very careful. Stats does get eyes on the would-be fresh mining base on the 3rd. The Immortals are coming in. We do have the stalkers trying to engage. Boys are being pulled. A lot of probes are going to go down. SKillous getting caught out a little bit. Does get one Immortal. Big pick off. And Immortal does go down. Stats, though, he dives on the army. It looks like another Immortal fell. Stats, yeah, he just lost half of his force towards the north. And he's running out of steam. He's running out of units. We get a full surround. Cannon coming into play. Shield battery as well. GG gets called. And SKillous will take game number 1. I like the note of approval. Oh, the note of approval. That was a game. I agree, Papi. I agree. GG, well played. SKillous will take game number 1. That was a little bit closer than I think SKillous would have liked. Like, SKillous, he was ahead from almost the beginning. Like, from almost the start of the game, he had a better economy, he had a better army, he had the upgrade lead, had the worker lead, the base lead. There was so much going SKillous' way. But when it came to the army compositions, they were quite different between our two players, and Stats was able to accomplish quite a lot with it. Despite his deficit, he was able to keep up, was able to find some opportunities as well. As we pointed out before, there were some moments where it felt like Stats did overextend, and because of that, things just quickly swung in favor of SKillous. Remember the first big fight, if Stats hadn't pushed into the natural, if he hadn't just committed there, then maybe we could have seen him have a better transition into later on in the game, preserved his Immortals, preserved his Archons. The base trade, I do feel like, was the best chance for Stats to actually take the game. But he was late to the base trade as well, and there was just so much tank defense. Because of Skillous' better economy, he just had cannons and shield batteries everywhere, just slowing Stats down. GG. GG, well played. That was a game. And it's going to be Stats' map of choice here for game number 2. It's going to be Hard Lead. Let's go. Here we go. Yeah, it wasn't. I don't think it was necessarily a celebration. It was just, I don't know. It was just like Skillous was satisfied with that game, you know? He was like, yeah, it was good. It was nice. Here we go. As we are getting ready here for game 2, and we're loading on in, spawning in the bottom right hand corner of Hard Lead, we have Skillous for Team Liquid. And in the top left, we have his opponents for the KWANGDONG Freecs. It is Stats. Here we go. Who won the first set? This is the first set. I mean, technically it's set 2, but it's being played first. Either Cure or TY wasn't available earlier, so we're playing this series at first. And hopefully we can get into Cure versus TY later on in the night. Hopefully our players will arrive. Fingers crossed, fingers crossed. And now that we're getting into our build so far, 2 gate openers from both Skillous and Stats once again. Probes are moving out for a bit of a scout. Let's try to get a read on what is going on. My favorite celebration so far of recent memory is yesterday's. Yesterday when Cham won, when he 2-0'd Nightmare, he hung up the phone. He hung up on Nightmare. Sent him to voicemail. Oh, it was beautiful. I recommend checking out the VODs. It was a great matchup last night. Great matchup. It was Starlight Twinkle versus Maturino. Oh. But for now, we are getting into this. In before TY and Cure were having dinner together. It's possible. Very possible. Okay, well, hopefully they can come back though. Come back, Papi. You have some StarCraft to play. No more calls, please. It was great. I didn't fully okay, so apparently I asked Cham about it. I was like, who are you calling? What's going on? And he's like, mate. He's like, mate. And then he linked me a TikTok. Apparently it's like a celebration that a famous tennis player does. He was trying to emulate the tennis player. I don't know who. I don't follow tennis. Okay, I know Raphael. That's all I know from tennis. But apparently it's a thing. These goddamn sports enjoyers. Uh, as we're getting into this. So far, we have our tech of choice. Again, it was a double gateway opener into a Stargate here for SKillous. Interesting, turning the tables on stats. Remember, last game, Stats was the one that did go for a Stargate opener instead. With mixed success, he didn't really find a lot of damage with that Oracle. We do have double Adept here from Stats. He's looking to get some economic damage done. We have 2 more Adepts on the way behind this, so Stats doubling down here on the Adept aggression. I believe that is the 5th and 6th Adept on the way for Stats. He's going for a bit of a delayed Nexus here. Now, with all these Adepts, once you do amass 6 Adepts, you can actually threaten to kill the pylon that gets thrown down that blocks you into the natural, or blocks you from gaining access into the main. So, here we go. The Adepts, they do make their way in, and we can commit to the Shade. Do we have enough DPS? We don't commit yet. Waiting for the next wave. There we go. 5th and 6th Adept on the way across the map. Meanwhile, SKillous returning back home. He's now aware of just how aggressive Stats is being. The Oracle sticks around as well. I appreciate this, actually. So instead of sending the Oracle across the map to get economic damage done, no, he wants to dive on the Adepts. There we go. 1 Adept does already go down. And we want to pick off another, and it looks like we barely will. And suddenly, with only 4 Adepts, we can't really threaten the main base. Not anymore. Yeah, the Adepts, they're going down one after another. They get a couple of probes here at the natural, but we wanted more damage. Oh, as we barely wall off. Good, we actually invested into 8 Adepts. We're getting more probes. Oh my god. Getting a lot of workers, actually. That's going to be 8. 8 workers going down. Can we get 9? Oh my god. 9 workers. But that was 1-to-1. Yeah, there we go. It was 10 workers in total for 8 Adepts. Not the best trade here for Stats, but he does take a worker lead as a result. Does take a pretty... Oh my god, he has a 10 worker lead actually, but now the turns have been tabled. Now it is SKillous' turn to get some economic damage done, but the Stalkers are in position. SKillous, he does not get in. The Oracles so far, they have not paid on. They were able to kill Adepts, that's true, but they did not stop those Adepts from getting damage done. SKillous now in a rough position, but he's pushing forward with his Stalkers. He takes down the shield battery. The Immortal arrives just in time. Stats, he does hold on to his natural. Likewise, the Oracles haven't done any economic damage yet. We are now up to 3 Oracles. Going to be rotating around, going to the natural. Yeah, as the main army is distracted, SKillous, he goes straight for the mineral line. No, he goes straight for the army. Oh my god. The Immortal's going to be going down. The Stalkers as well. SKillous overwhelming Stats. Shield battery going to finish up just in time. Do we have enough for an overcharge? We do. Overcharge is popped. Stats will hold. It was a tight hold, but oh my god. As he holds onto the natural, the Oracle does slip into the main base, gave some more worker kills. 8 probes go down, and just like that, SKillous ties it up. He does take a slight worker lead in the end. The Adepts did well for Stats. They did well in the early game, but here the Oracles, they were able to reciprocate that damage. SKillous is still in this. He's backing off, working towards Blink. Stats, due to the lack of Twilight Council, Stats is going to be making up for that with Immortals instead. Stats' army is less mobile, less flexible, but still quite robust with that Immortal count. He did lose 1, but he's going to be slowly building up that count once again. Going straight for the 3rd base. And from here, the dust is settling. The dust is going to be settling. You mean Nadal? I think so, maybe. I don't know. I think that's what I meant. Yeah. Nadal, yeah. That's what I was talking about. Let's see, we go. SKillous is going to be pushing. Blink still a couple of seconds away, but he's looking to hit a timing with Blink. Proxy Gateway is being set up again. Stats, he's got a 3rd. SKillous does not. He's going for a big 2-base push. The army has been revealed. Stats trying to get in position. He's up to 2 Immortals. He has a 3rd Immortal on the way. He has Sentries of Force Fields. That's a lot of Stalkers. 16 Stalkers. We dive in. And we can two-shot the Immortals. One goes down. Can we get the other? We barely... Oh, it's going to take 3 shots to take that last one down. And a third Immortal arrives. Stats holds. He barely does hold on, but he did lose 2 Immortals in the process. And we get another warp in. We're going in again. The Immortal is going to go down. And SKillous, he may just have too much. It may just be too much here for Stats to handle. Another wave of reinforcements are on the way. Stats being forced back to his own third base. We do pop the overcharge. Oh no! No! Who is it? No, Saya! Now is not the time. We're in the middle of a fight. Ay, ay, ay. Emil! Shout out to Sayo. Sayo, he is one of the admins of SC Boy, of WTL. And oh, we're back! Okay. We have returned. Whew. It looks like SKillous, he does pivot away, rotating towards the natural base, but another Immortal has arrived. Oh, and we do dive on said Immortal once again. It is going to go down. Good target firing so far at SKillous. But he's taking a lot of hits, taking a lot of losses. The army is looking quite close here in terms of supply. 11 Stalkers to 7. And it looks like another Immortal has barely popped out. Stats, he's holding on here by the skin of his teeth. The Immortal coming out just in time, every single time as well. And with the arrival of these Immortals, SKillous, he has to back off. He has to build up his Stalker count once again. Now behind this, he did throw down the third base. He has a pretty comparable economy. Yeah, he ignores the army. He goes to the third base of Stats instead. And we have Adept shading into the natural. I love it. SKillous just trying to pull apart the attention of Stats. The Adepts, they shade in. And they're getting a lot of worker kills. Oh my god. 5 probes looking to get up to 6. Charge is not done for Stats either. There we go, just now finishing. Finishes up just in time. Adepts, they shade out of the natural into the third base, getting more probes. And in one swift move, SKillous, he may not have been able to break the army, but he does break the economy, taking an economic lead. Now, Stats is going to hold, but the onus is now going to be on Stats to counterattack. And can he is the question. There we go. Prism is on the way. We have a Dark Shrine as well. Oh my. Do we have detection available? I mean, we have a Stargate for Oracles. I believe the Oracles went down earlier, but we can always rebuild. I don't think... Okay, there is a rope. Okay, SKillous, he does have an Observer on the way. We're all good. We're all good. Observer is coming out. DT is going to be waddling towards the natural. You can see them on the minimap. Making their way in, and SKillous, does he notice in time? Will he notice in time? As probes are falling. The DT is going ham. GG gets called just like that. And Stats will take it in the end. GG. Oh my god. Am I crazy? I'm pretty sure, yeah, SKillous, one fell swoop here. The DT's a Dark Templar. The Invisible Man. Not like it. It happens, Poppy. It happens. They do go in, they get too much done. And just like that, SKillous, oh, sorry, Stats, he ties it up 1-1. Does tie it up. GG, well played. And with that, still no one quite taking a lead here. I'm not certain if we do have our Terran players. We may just go into Clem versus Keen instead of Cure versus TY. It's hard to say. Hard to say. I don't think we have an update yet in Discord as to what is going on. Okay, apparently TY has some PC issues. We just got an update. So apparently TY does have some PC issues, which is why they weren't able to play first. Hopefully they have resolved. We're going to be going on a short break, and when we return, we will have a TVT. Either Cure versus TY or Clem versus Keen. Not too sure which, but we'll have one of them. See you soon. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. It looks like the technical issues have been resolved, and we have our lovely Terran players, Cure and TY. They have arrived. We will not be deprived of their matchup. We have it right here before you. The TVTs, they will commence. And I'm excited. I'm ready for this. Again, TY, when I think of the players in the KWANGDONG Freecs, I do rate TY quite highly. He has been back competing since almost the start of the year. He's been active in GSL. He's been having some decent performances in GSL as well. He's in decent form. But what I will say is that when you compare him to the hierarchy of Terrans in Korea, Kyor, Gumiho, Maru, Byeon, they're still in the upper echelons, and TY still has some ways to work his way up the ladder. And here we go. This is his first stride in getting there. In the bottom left-hand corner for Team Liquid, we have Kyor. Oh, he's got his jersey. Let's go. And in the top right, we have his opponents. We have for the KWANGDONG Freecs, it is TY. The sun, Taeyang. Let's go. But yeah, we are just diving on into this, and yeah, we do see Cure, of course, now newly representing Team Liquid. I think he's been on the team for almost a month at this point, a couple of weeks at least. And yeah, it's a really good pickup. Cure for a long time has been teamless, and it's great to see Team Liquid reinvesting in StarCraft and supporting Cure. Definitely a player that deserves to be on the team, and it's a travesty that he was teamless for so long. The other player was Gumiho, and Gumiho recently, of course, finding a team in Cloud9. I would say there's only one player left that's teamless in Korea that deserves to be on the team, and that's going to be DRG. DRG, he hasn't been really on people's radar as much as Cure and Gumiho. This is true, but DRG has still been very active and very strong, and hopefully he finds a team as well. Nightmare, of course, finding a team with Maturino. So you know, people they've been finding some homes. They've been finding some homes when it comes to the Korean players. Until now, though, we're getting into this TVT. So far, we do have some interesting openers. We have Cure going for double gas, TY going for a Rax expand. So TY is going for an economic opener. He is going to be delayed, Cure being as annoying as possible, forcing it to be off-center and even DPSing down that SCV, just drilling away at it. Don't drill the SCVs. As yeah, Cure is eventually going to be forced back. Again, just being a bit of a nuisance, forcing a bit of inefficiency out of TY. But overall, TY is going to have a more economic opener. Cure is going to have a more aggressive opener. Again, Cure, because he went for a double gas, he's going to have a faster factory, faster tech in general, and a delayed expansion. So we'll see where Cure takes us. When it comes to TVT, we have seen quite a lot of Cyclone play in the early game, just, you know, to have a solid kind of unit count and a robust army early on, eventually getting into Biotank. Of course, Cure has been quite fond of making use of the new Raven. Of course, you have to invest into the upgrade, but Ravens are still very impactful and very influential in the TVT matchup. When it comes to TY, we have seen a lot of mech. We've seen a lot of mech here. TY even playing mech against Protoss and GSL. That's my highlight of the year for GSL. One of my highlights of the year for GSL is TY versus Classic in Season 2 of GSL this year. I think it was on Altitude where he played against Classic. I want to say it was Altitude. And he also went, he also played a very unique form of mech against Maru as well. That was on Altitude, where he went kind of like Sky Mech. He went like Viking Tank. No, sorry, he went Banshee Tank. Like mass Banshee Tank, I want to say, which was wild. And yeah, it was really cool to see. Just really unique play out of TY. That's kind of what he's been known for, just kind of experimenting a little bit and trying out different things. But we'll see where he takes us. We'll see where he takes us this time. As the CC has been repositioned, Cyclones are on the way. Medevac in production from Cure. So again, Cure, he wants to be the aggressor. He wants to be in the face of his opponent. Before that does occur, we do have a couple of Hellions marauding around, trying to find a way in, but Cure is able to hold the line. Again, he's getting up to 6 Cyclones. Medevac's on the way. Liberator as well. A Liberator from TY. And we'll see if Cure is able to outposition his opponent. The Hellions, they did race back home. The goal here is for the Hellions to soak those lock-ons, ideally. Oh, but as TY moves out, Cure moves in. Uh-oh. It's a really rough moment to move out for TY as his economy is exposed. We're going straight for the SCVs, and TY has to race back home. Now, to be fair, it's going to be a one-way trip for Cure, but he's getting a lot of worker damage. Mules go down, 9 SCVs as well. And we'll see how well he can trade, as he should be cleaned up. As I say, that takes down most of these Hellions. Oh, and in the end, only one Cyclone will survive for TY. But at the end, that was worth it. We do have the Liberator getting a lot done. 5 worker kills. So TY able to do some counter damage at least. But Cure, he maintains his worker lead. Still up in workers. He still has these Cyclones as well. Medevac to drop. He can push out. Meanwhile, we can see that Stim is on the way. So TY is playing Bio, thankfully. I know I was talking about mech before, but here, at least in game 1, TY is not going to be embracing the mech. He's going to be embracing the Bio play instead. Bio tank, at least. And it's Cure who's been hammering away at those Cyclones. Just continuing Cyclone production. There's that Interference Matrix upgrade on the way, as we mentioned before, but Cure has been very fond of it. There are players like Bjorn who have been avoiding really getting too heavy into Ravens in this matchup. But Cure, he's one to embrace it. My eyes are on the production of Cure, though, because I'm curious if we're going to throw down another factory. Is Cure the one to embrace mech instead? TY, of course, moving out. Stim is now finishing, so he's going to be hitting a Stim timing here with his force. Cure, likewise, getting into his own Stim, so it is going to be Bio tank. But a much stronger, faster timing coming in from TY. And what do we have at home to defend? I believe we don't have any tanks. Just Cyclones. Speaking of, Cyclone drop into the main base, getting some more SCVs, forcing them off the mineral line. At the same time, Cure is pushing into the natural base of Cure. Well, TY is pushing into the natural base of Cure. He's getting ready for it. Alas, he doesn't commit. Too many Cyclones. Tank production is commencing. Cure still making more Cyclones, but I'm shocked. By this point, we should have seen an add-on swap and gone into tanks. Tanks, they are the bread and butter of TVT, and instead, Cure just doubling down on Cyclones. And I mean, can I criticize him? Because he's been getting damage done. Like, workers are going down. A lot of them, actually, throughout the course of this game. And we're up to four Ravens. What's happening? We scan, and I'm sure TY is thinking, what the hell's going on as well? Mass Cyclone Raven here with Stim. Like, it's not mech. We've just been going non-stop Cyclones here. No tank production whatsoever, and we get another 4 SCVs. Here we go, Liberator into the main. Cure. Oh, TY hoping to distract Cure. Tank does siege, but we should see a disable. Despite the disable, we cannot push in. Oh, and this Liberator is getting so much damage done. 7, 8 worker kills in the main. Cure, he's having a hard time engaging. Again, he just can't close that distance, and he's taking a lot of losses. TY pushes in. The Ravens. 1 Raven goes down. Big pick off. Again, nice moves here from TY. I mean, there are still 3 more Ravens because he went up to 4 because he's crazy, but good nonetheless. Another disable on that tank. Auto charge are thrown down, and we should clean up this drop. At the same time, Cyclone drop into the main base of TY. SCVs are going down. Liberator is finally going to get cleaned up. Meanwhile, the tanks, they don't have the... Oh, they don't have vision. Oh, 1 tank goes down. You're barely holding on. Another tank has arrived. Meanwhile, that Cyclone's still going ham. The picture-in-picture. That Cyclone, he's killing so many workers. GG gets called. It's just too much. And Cure will take game number 1. GG. The Cyclones, Poppy. Specifically, that Cyclone drop that just kept going in again, over and over again, into the main base of TY, just pulling apart his attention, crippling his economy. TY just did not have an answer for it. And TY did run out of steam. He just lost too many workers, his economy was crippled, and he just could not keep up. Despite that, though, it was a pretty wild game. Like, it was a pretty close game overall. A very unique style out of Cure. I was a little bit flabbergasted that he hadn't transitioned into, or he hadn't gone for an add-on swap and gone for tank production. Just stayed on Cyclones for all of that game. Despite going into bio. So yeah, really odd choice. Even going up to 4 Ravens, it's very out of the norm. Very out of the norm for Cure. Regardless, GG does take the first game, and game 2 is going to be TY's map of choice. We are getting into Oceanborn. Oceanborn is going to be an interesting one. It does have a much shorter rush distance compared to Alcyone, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see some more aggression out of TY, some earlier game aggression. Proxies are not unheard of. 2-base pushes, not unheard of either. My eyes are on TY. I'm curious if he's one to embrace the special. In TVT, I'm sure you're aware that Special is very fond of 2-port all-ins, where you just go for 2 ports on 2 bases into mass Viking production, into a Liberator as well. I'm curious how that holds up in this new patch. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen that build this patch specifically. So I wonder if TY is one to embrace it. I know TY and Special are really good friends, and they do share a lot of builds. They do talk about the game and practice together. So I'm curious if we try to embrace that or if we head in a different direction instead. I'm curious. So players are just going to be getting ready for this. Likewise, on Oceanborn, your 3-base setup can be pretty well established. Similar to Alcyone, but again, we saw a lot of aggression out of our players, and I don't know if we're really looking to get into a longer game. I don't think we want a later game. But here we go. We're loading in. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner for Team Liquid, we have Cure. And in the top left for the KWANGDONG Freecs, it is TY. It's not something that we get to see too often, but I do love that WTL, the SC Boy admins, they actually have 2 observers. They have 2 observers in the game, and every now and then we get to see the lovely picture-in-picture as a result. Okay, it doesn't happen all the time, but whenever we get it, I appreciate it. Do appreciate it. The MVP Cyclones for Cure. Again, we'll see if we approach this in a bit of a different manner. To wind it all back, as a reminder, in game 1, TY did go for an economic opener, and Cure went for a more aggressive one, going double gas. I'm curious if that's going to be a bit of a trend, or if we do divert away from that here in that second game. As so far, it looks like both players are going for Rax Expands. Both players have gone for a single gas geyser each. Not getting into a second, which typically does lead into a faster expansion, but we'll see. As TY, he's a little bit paranoid. He's looking for proxies, making sure he isn't being bamboozled. Doesn't want to get done dirty here by Cure. There it is, CC on the low ground for both players. So, yeah, things are going to be calming down here in game 2 as both players go for economic openers. We're easing into it. Ooh, as TY does throw down a second Rax. Hello. I'm curious. This could lead into a 2-1-1, which is not unheard of in TVT. It's very unpopular. Bjorn, I feel like Bjorn is probably the player that does this the most, where you go for a medevac drop and medevac timing. Very risky to go for, because if your double medevac drop doesn't do enough damage, then you just fall behind because you have no tanks, you have delayed factory production in general. And it is not a 2-on-1. That is a third Rax. Okay. We have a 3 Rax from TY. Now this is... Oh my god. Okay, we have a 3 Rax from TY. Cure, he goes for a third CC before Starport. A very greedy, very economic build from Cure. We haven't pointed it out yet on screen, but if you look at the production tab, that is a third CC in production. Ay. Meanwhile, the Reapers, they get into the main base. They're actually getting quite a lot done. Oh, we don't have any defensive Reapers, and this is getting out of hand. I want the mid-game pop. I want these builds to come to fruition, but TY, he's losing far too much, far too quickly. The Reapers, they're getting out of hand. They get 4 or 5 SCVs, and we only have Marines to try to stop this. This is too much. This is becoming game-ending damage. 6 SCV kills, and we get a full scout as well. Ah. Oh my god, things are looking so promising. I was like, mate, Curie's being so greedy. We can punish him. We can kill him. But alas, another SCV goes down. And on top of that, Curie, he saw everything. He saw the 3 racks, so he knows to get ready for it. He should be throwing down some static defense and building up his army back at home. He should be delaying his 3rd base. As we get another, we're still not done. Oh my god, we get another SCV. More lost mining time. Are we going to get the mule? Oh my god. Almost. As Cure finally gets cleaned up, he's enjoying a very nice economic lead, and he's going to be able to enjoy that even further as he does have that 3rd CC done, I believe, in the main base. Now, again, because Cure scouted the 3 racks, I'm pretty sure he's just going to keep that 3rd CC in his main, and just, you know, make use of the mules and make use of the production and hold off on expanding for now. We have a bunker on the way. Tank in production. We're going into Cloak Banshee. 3cc Cloak Banshee. Let's go. It's a TVZ build. I appreciate it. And yeah, with that, that's going to be a way to do some more counter damage across the map. If we get a good enough tank count, we should be able to hold on against this. I believe the first tank is still on the way, and TY is pushing. He's looking to hit a timing with Stim. There's a lot of pressure on TY. He's basically all in. Like you can see, he's far behind in workers. He's down 16 SCVs. But the wall is solid. The tank is in position. Again, Cure, he knows that the bio push is coming and he's ready for it. And he's getting into mech. That's a 3rd and a 4th factory. Sorry, that's the 2nd and a 3rd. 2nd and a 3rd factory on the way. Ay. TY is getting his own 3rd CC on location. Cure, now it looks like they've noticed that, yeah, again, the 3rd CC are already done. We have a 4th CC on the way for Cure. Oh, it's mech versus mech. Is it though? Sorry, I saw the 2nd factory on the way for TY, which is really early. But I guess he wants to try to keep up. Oh wait, no, sorry, my mistake. That's the 1st factory because it's a 3 racks, of course. I'm not used to seeing the 1st factory this late, but yeah, because of the 3-axe build, it's just been so heavily delayed here for TY. And his 3-axe timing didn't really come to fruition, so he's just falling behind. Cure, he's doubling down, getting into speed for his Banshees. The Banshees are about to rock up. Do we have an answer for them? As Marines are out of position, SCVs are going down. Oh my god, the main base under fire! We force out the stim. There's no medevac, so every stim hurts. Every stim is brutal. We don't delay the 3rd CC at least. And we do manage to bring down one of the Banshees. We barely don't get the 2nd. But Curie's almost got double the worker count. And as I mentioned before, again, still no medevac, so this army, it's taken quite a number of hits already for TY, and we're not going to be able to stop them up. Not yet. Cure, he can now establish his 3rd base. That's more factories on the way, by the way. I believe that's the 4th and 5th factory for Cure. And the problem is that, like, mech is usually a very slow army to get going, and you know, typically when you're up against mech, the bio player, he can mass expand, he can take control of the map. This is a really rough position where Cure, he's playing mech from ahead, where he has a stronger economy, he has a stronger presence on the map as well. TY doesn't have the typical advantages that he would have as a bio player just because of the openers, and yeah, it's a really rough position to play from, as he is struggling to keep up. Especially with TY just building a more efficient army. Does end up losing 5 Cyclones. That was a pretty hefty loss. Not the most important loss, but a good trade for TY. Meanwhile, Banshee's speed has just kicked in. Hyperflight rotors. Diving in between the bases. SCVs are going down. TY, he does not pull back. Oh, even his reinforcements, they're struggling. Stim is not enough to keep up. Not against these speed Banshees. At the same time, TY looks like he's getting ready for his own counterattack as well. A couple more SCVs are going to go down. Oh, actually going for some drop play even. Let's go. Going for a drop into the main. Or into the third base even, wherever we can. Tanks are in... Oh my god, look at that tank line. That's brutal. That's insane. That tank line cannot be broken anytime soon. And TY, he nopes the hell out of there. Pulls back with his drop. And I have to try to take a different approach. Now, there is potential. There is a world where TY can maybe catch the army unsieged when Cure pushes out. But Cure, I don't think he's going to push out until he's maxed. He's now taking a fourth base. Again, he's still maintaining his economic lead. He is spreading himself a little bit thin, but TY doesn't really have the army supply to punish that as much as he would like. TY getting into a fusion core. Looks like he wants to get into Liberators, which could work well. But again, he has to try to make use of this army. He's still just stuck in the center of the map. Cure on the cusp of maxing. We've got 2 more starports on the way to get into mass Viking production. To take control of the skies. But again, when it comes to Cure's eventual push, there is potential for TY to, catch some units out of position, maybe go for a counterattack at the same time. Cure has been greedy. His third and his fourth base are all orbitals. There's no planetaries, so they're a little bit vulnerable to drop play. TY going to be scanning, is looking for where the army is. Does spot the move out. Oh, that's a lot of Hellbats. Cure, he has maxed out. Got his tank line, Hellbats to support. We do come in from behind. 1, 2 tanks go down. Big pickoffs. And these tanks are looking very exposed. TY, this is maybe his best engagement he could hope for, but he's still losing too much. GG gets called. Cure does not get cleaned up, and he will take the 2-0. GG. GG, well played. Even with the best engagement, even with those tanks being exposed, TY just didn't have enough. He didn't have the numbers because of his crippled economy, because he lost so many SCVs in the lead up to that push. He was just down in supply, down in army, down in economy. GG. GG, well played. A rough game there from TY. A solid performance out of Cure. And just like that, Team Liquid, they are 1 game away. Unomas, 1 game away from taking it all here, from winning the series. Up next is going to be Clem versus Keen. Clem is playing tonight, but I think he's scheduled to play in 40 minutes, so I think he should be available. Should be available for this best of 2. Fingers crossed. It's also possible that they maybe played their games via earlier today, and they're submitting replays just in case. We'll see. As again, for now, the pressure's on Keen. Keen, he needs to pull off a miracle. He needs a 2-0 here to force the ace match, to force a game 7. Against a player like Clem, it is not impossible, but it is going to be a mountain to climb. The pressure is on Keen, and Clem, he can sit back a little bit. He can chill. He knows he has a little bit of wiggle room. He only needs 1 game. 1 game is all that Clem needs here to take it all, to win it all for his team. For now, we're going to be going on a short break. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a short one. When we return, TBT. See you soon. And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. Ooh, we have returned here with the final best of 2 of our first Team League match of the night. We have returned here with Clem versus Keen. Oh, the hoodies. Oh, hold on. The hoodies are up. The hoodies are up. It's getting a little bit chilly, of course, in Seoul, Korea. And Keen is ready here to go to town. The pressure is on. He needs a 2-0 to force the ace match. Can he pull it off? I mentioned before that I do think that this is best case scenario in a way. Keen, I do think his best matchup at the moment is TBT. So we'll see if he can make some magic happen. Meanwhile, Clem, he's got a date with ESL EU in a couple of hours or in a couple of minutes. In the top left, we have Team Liquid, Clem. And in the bottom right, we have for the KWANGDONG Freecs, it is Keen. Here we go. Again, Clem, he is scheduled to compete later on tonight. I believe he still has some time. He still has some time for a best of 2. It is going to be close, though. And I do think that if this does lead into the ace match, Clem most likely won't be available for that ace match either. Just because of ESL Masters coinciding here with WTL. So we'll see how this does turn out. For the time being, we are getting into the swing of things here, into our next TBT. I expect this to be very different compared to the first. We saw Cure, flex his mech styles and mech skill. I don't expect mech to come out from either one of these players, but we'll see. As both Clem and Keen go for a double gas opener. Let's go. Double gases all around. Much more aggressive openers here from our players. We are on hard lead, so it makes sense. The rush distance by ground is very short on this map, so aggression is favored. Going for economic openers here is a bit of a risky move to go for. It is riskier. Here we go. For now, SCVs are going to be moving out. Keen opting not to go for an SCV scout, so technically Keen will have a slightly better economy, as Clem is just being a little bit more secure. He comes in for the scout, does get eyes on the factory, is now aware that Keen is going for the exact same build that Clem is going for. So Clem, he has a little bit of scouting information. He has the knowledge of what his opponent is doing. Keen does not. But Keen has a slightly better economy, again, as a result. So a bit of a give and take here. Some slight deviations, nothing too major. I do kind of like Clem's position a little bit more overall, just because he has that information to work with. And back at home is just building himself up. Interesting. So Clem, I believe he's going for that reactor. Yeah, he's going to be going Reaper reactor instead of double Reaper. So there's going to be a small window here where Keen does have a Reaper advantage, but he's going to back off. Expansions are on the way. And our unit of choice here is going to be a Cyclone first out of Keen. Cyclone first. Meanwhile, Clem going Reaper Hellion, a much more traditional army composition here from Clem. Again, Reaper Hellion has been the go-to ever since TVT was almost incepted in recent times. Again, it's just a really robust army to work with. Keen, though, just skipping out on the Hellions, going for the Cyclone instead. Again, which is now something that you can get away with a little bit more in the new patch, just because the Cyclone is a little bit cheaper and a little bit more flexible. As Clem is going to be pushing out. Again, behind this, our players are still just going to be teching. Tanks now on the way. Clem getting into double Cyclone production behind this. Looking for a way into the natural. Well, we're going to be able to dive on top of that Cyclone. It looks like the first one will go down. Good pick off here from Clem. Takes down the Cyclone. The second Reaper was not in position. Keen is going to be able to pick off a couple of units here in the retreat. Not too bad. A couple of units do go down. And Keen is going to be able to hold on. Did end up losing an SCV, so Clem going to take a slight worker lead. As both players are going to be clashing here. Keen is pushing with a drop, and Clem is soon going to be active with his own drop as well. With his Cyclones and Medevac on the way. There we go. We're going to be zooming across the map. And who is going to get more damage done as they do? Oh, barely spot each other. No reactions though. And here we go. We go straight for the natural base. Tank in position. Marines, they go straight for the mineral line. Likewise, Clem does not turn around. He's going for his own drop into the main base of Keen. SCVs are going to fall. So Keen is taking control of the natural. Meanwhile, his opponent taking control of the main. Yeah, the boys are being pulled. A lot of SCVs are going down. Oh my god, too many. 8 workers, 9 SCVs in total. We're going to go up to almost 10. Yeah, we're going to get 10. Ay, ay, ay. Yeah, this is getting out of hand. This is almost like I'm watching Cure again in the last game. Cure versus TY. Keen, he's trying to do damage across the map, but alas, he's just having a really hard time at breaking through. Pushing on forward. That's going to be 13 dead SCVs. The Cyclones come out. The tank is going to go down. And Keen is being cleaned up, completely shut down. Ay, ay, ay. With the death of that medevac, Keen, what can he do from here? He does have a Liberator in the main. He has another job coming towards the natural. Keen is down 10 workers. Oh, no. As Clem finds another worker across the map. Keen is trying to even things up, trying to stabilize. Third CCs are on the way for both players. Clem still enjoying a lead. Oh, I spoke too soon. I said before, I was like, mate, no shot we're going to see Mech again here in this TVT, right? Never mind. Keen throws down 2 more factories. He is going to be getting into Mech. This does make a lot of sense just because he has lost a lot of momentum. He is behind. So Mech can be a good way to just turtle, fortify yourself, and try to even things up in the mid game. But it also means that Keen most likely is going to be stuck at home. We do have some extra Liberators on the way to harass. We're going non-stop lib production, actually. Again, the goal here is to keep Clem at home while Keen tries to get his economy going and builds up his tank count. But Clem, I'm sure he's in his own comfort zone. A very active player, a very fast player. And he's pushing out. Oh my, that's a lot of... I'm actually really curious. This playstyle from Clem does feel very similar to how Cure was playing against TY. I would love to know if they were actually practicing, if they've been actually practicing together. I know obviously they're new teammates, but sometimes, you know, they're only teammates in name and they don't really interact much. But yeah, this is fascinating to me. Here we go. Massive lock-ons here. Sorry, massive disables on the tanks, and we're just diving on in. And Clem is being, Keen is being completely shut down. Only 1 tank does survive. Again, this feels so similar to how Kira was playing on Alkione against TY. It's the same, essentially. As Clem, he doesn't force the issue, he backs off. Is going to be retreating. Liberator going into the main. Going to be looking for some economic damage. We have a lib into the main base. Keen, he doesn't want to take this lying down. He's getting some workers. He's evening things up. Not too bad. Will go down. As a Keen, with that Liberator harass, he has more or less even things up economically. When it comes to his army, he did lose a lot of his tanks, unfortunately, and that is pretty impactful. It means that Keen can't really push out anytime soon with his main army. He's just stuck at home. He has Cyclones as a marauding force, that's true, but he is kind of going to be stuck contained here on his 3 bases. Cyclone speed on the way, Hurricane thrusters. And Clem has a lot of freedom at the moment. If you wanted to, he could expand, take a 4th base. But for now, he is going to be amassing his army. He's going to be pushing. He still has 3 Ravens alive. He has plenty of energy to work with. And the tank count of Keen still hasn't recovered. Keen is looking quite vulnerable here. How many tanks do we have? We have 2 tanks at the 3rd base? Ay, ay, ay. 2 tanks is not going to be good enough. Okay, we have a 3rd and 4th. Oh my, we got more. They have rotated over. Oh, never mind. We have 5 tanks, now 4. As Clem is just chipping away at the army. The mass disables are real, and we can just dive in. The Vikings land. The boys are being pulled, and they're being annihilated. As Clem takes control of the third base, GG gets called, and Clem will take game number 1. Not just game 1. With that, that's going to be the series. Clem does win it here for Team Liquid. Keen, there was a lot of pressure on him to get the 2-0, and against Clem, it was going to be a tough ask. It was going to be a difficult journey here for him. Alas, he isn't able to take that first game, and we are still going to play out game 2. You know, for ELO, for overall standings, we're still playing game 2, but that is going to be the win for Team Liquid. Ooh, GG. Again, Keen, he can still fight back for himself and for his standings, for his team, for his ELO. Still going to be his map of choice. Now, you could argue that now there's going to be a little bit less pressure on him just because there's a little bit less on the line here. Keen, can he fight back? His map of choice, Site Delta. Site Delta is going to be up next. It's quite an interesting map, quite a long map. We have seen a lot of players really struggle in the late game to hold on to fringe bases just because of how spread out they are. Likewise, your first 2-base setup is quite solid. You do have a ramp leading into the natural. This is one of the few maps that actually has a ramp leading into the natural base. The only other one is Radisson Station, and we don't talk about Radisson Station. We don't. So I wonder what Keen has in store for us here. Here we go. It's pronounced Al Capone. True, true. Al Capone. Vámonos. I agree. I remember Fear Dragon. He made a video. It's on Twitter about how to correctly pronounce all the names. And I'm on board with all of it except for Al Capone. Okay, we need that in our lives. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Question: what is the temperature where light is? Oh, I don't know. I mean, it's been getting a little bit hot here in Australia. I've said this before, but we're nearing the end of the year, and around Christmas time, we're deep in summer. Here when I think of Christmas, I think of barbecue, cookouts, with the family. Very hot, very humid. When Christmas comes around. Stark contrast to, I guess, the Americas, where it's like winter and snow. But here we go. In the top left, we have, for Team Liquid, Clem. Ooh. So diving into game number 2 and spawning in the bottom right-hand corner here for the KWANGDONG Freecs, it is Keen. Vámonos. Here we go. Again, I did mention the Team Liquid, they have already taken the series, but Keen still has a chance here to fight back for himself, for the KWANGDONG Freecs. I want to believe that we can, as we are going to be settling into Site Delta. What did Fear Dragon say? I think, how do you correctly pronounce this? Site Delta, I think. I can't remember. I've blanked that out from my mind. Let's go. As we do have a second Rax thrown out across the map here. Clem gonna spice things up here with a 2 Rax. One at home, one across the map. One across the map. Not the most committed proxy here from Clem, but aggressive nonetheless. And we'll see if he can catch out his opponents. Ideally, he goes up against a Rax expand, but we can see that Keen did go for a double gas opener. So gonna be going for a little bit more aggression, and as a result, a little bit safer as well. If he had gone for an economic opener, then his CC on the low ground would be exposed to the aggression of Clem, but alas, that is not the case. So this is a little bit more ideal for Keen, as he gets a faster factory, as a result, faster Hellions. As Reaper production is commencing. Now, a lot of this is also going to come down to the control. The downside is that if Clem does lose a little bit too much momentum, if he does end up losing some of these Reapers, and of course his production is a little bit awkward, it's not back at home, and if Keen does end up breaking out, then Clem can have a hard time defending. But for now, he's pushing in. Does have an SCV to tank those first shots. Waiting for his reinforcements and heading towards the natural. Keen does go for the CC on the low ground. Oh, that worker should be going down. We go straight for the Reaper, though. Clem shoots first. Takes down the first Reaper. He's going for the second. He gets that as well without losing a single Reaper. GG gets called. Ay, ay, ay. A bit of miscontrol out of Keen, losing his first 2 Reapers without getting anything else. And just like that, Clem will take Game 2 and the 2-0. GG. Oh my god. Yeah, just again, just a little bit late of a reaction from Keen. He lost both Reapers without getting a single Reaper of Clem. That was brutal. That was worst case scenario, and GG. GG, a well play. That does wrap up our first series. Team Liquid take down KWANGDONG Freecs 3-1. And with that, we're going to be going on a short break. Short break here. Take this moment to hydrate your Hydras, massage your Marines, stretch your Roaches, and tuck in your Tempest. When we return, we will have the Starving Camels versus Dragon Kaiser Gaming. See you soon.